Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today I'm going to be talking about episode 5 of Years and Years on HBO. So like last episode felt kind of like a build to a big climax in the season. I think this episode is where things really start to hit off. You are seeing some of the huge effects of Viv becoming prime minister. Obviously seeing some things that are relevant to today's politics. You see dirty bombs going off in the major cities. Seeing some huge shifts both in the economic scheme and the global scheme when it comes to the climate, things like that. Obviously hitting on these hot button issues that are a big thing in politics today. So I thought it handled that pretty interestingly. I like how the show always has this way of skipping time and making it still feel a little grounded. You're feeling these slight differences. There's just the little things that are different between the years. It's not like, it's one year and then the next year it's like this dystopian future. You're seeing some things happen to the lower class individuals in society, and I think that's something that a lot of people fear when they hear something about people being nationalists or populist, things going on. They're worried that those that aren't maybe in the majority are going to be treated poorly. And the show kind of showcases that. You're seeing them being put into almost blocked off zones, even if you're not a criminal. If you just live in these areas where criminals live, or you're associated with anyone who could be a criminal, you're treated that way. And this obviously harkens back to things that maybe happened in the past in Nazi Germany or something like that. Because even in the episode, Viv kind of justifies concentration camps. She kind of tries to reword it and say it a different way so it doesn't sound so terrible. And you're seeing how people could fall into something like that. In history, you hear these terrible events happen. You're like, how did anyone go along with these things? And then you're seeing it in the shows, maybe how things slowly trickle down and things get so bad economically and socially that people are willing to do terrible things. And you're especially seeing that with Steven's character. He's obviously at his last wits and what he's going to do with his job, his income, his life. So he's going to work for Viv and the people that run these camps, essentially. And he goes ahead and sends Victor to one of the horrible camps where he knows that people are probably going to die. Even Viv explains that these camps are built on the models of efficiency of things that were done by Britain in the past in South Africa, that, people are sent there and they kind of just die. They're not being taken care of. And yeah, it's really depressing, this episode. And the show does kind of balance some of the goods and the bads with progression in the future. You're obviously seeing technology advance extremely rapidly. You're seeing the ability to cure almost any disease. So you're seeing how things can get bad in the future, but then you also have a parallel of how technology becomes better. So I thought that was interesting. The fact that they are willing to say, things could get bad economically, globally, with those kind of things, but you're always going to have progress in certain aspects of the world. So I like the fact that they're willing to kind of, while they're going down a very negative route of what can happen, they also show a little positivity on the side. So obviously in the scenes where you're seeing Viv talk behind closed doors about the things she wants to get done policy-wise, you can see that this is going to get really, really bad. I think the last episode is going to be some kind of coup or government thing, because you obviously saw Edith is behind the scenes trying to break down the government and get in and figure out where all these people are being taken, all the homeless people that are displaced from the crime zones, or whether it be economics or flooding that was going on, and you kind of just seeing shoot aside to these camps where they're going to be sent to be killed, essentially. And I think we're going to see some kind of rise up, some kind of resistance thing, because there's only one episode left, so they have to get a lot wrapped up in that last episode. So I think we might actually see some real action in that last episode. The one thing I thought was kind of interesting, a little throwaway line that they threw into this episode in particular, was you have Viv speaking with Steven one-on-one. She obviously doesn't know who he is. He's kind of a no one to her, and he mentions to her, like, why don't you just leave? Because she acts like she wants to leave the country because of all the issues going on. And she says, I could never do that. They would never let me leave. And she has this very serious face. And he's kind of like, what do you mean by that? And she's like, oh, well, they would have me killed. So you're kind of seeing how people are propped up. I think it has kind of a deep state feel to it. I think that's a little interesting aspect to throw into. I wouldn't mind if they don't really elaborate on that a whole lot. I like that it's kind of this ambiguous idea of people in power being manipulated by other people. You see these faces, but you know that there's other things, lobbyists and such, that are going on behind the scenes that kind of influence policy and what they say in public. So that's my thoughts on this episode. Have you liked Years and Years so far? You think it's gone a little off the rails, a little too far? Obviously, the show has a specific leaning, it has a specific policy, but I think that, it tries its best to do it in a somewhat rounded way, kind of a cautionary tale type thing. Doesn't try to be too in your face about, this is bad, these things are bad. It does that. I completely understand if people are off put by that. But I'm just interested in what you think about the show. Do you like the show? Where do you think it's going to go? How do you think it's going to end for those of you that haven't seen it? Obviously, if you're from over the seas, you've already seen it because it aired a month ago or so. So yeah, comment those down below and let me know what your favorite storyline is. I think there's a lot of interesting little character stories going on. I think they've done a really good job of making each individual family member feel important, make you feel invested in their story. So who is your favorite character right now? All right, guys, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you next time.